Well, hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome in, and thanks for being on with Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. As you can see, I'm back in network control, as is Barry in his studio down in Troy this morning. How's it going today?
It's going well. Late baseball game. This is an incredibly busy stretch for me, but today a bit of a day trip down to Tallahassee for baseball. So I'll be here for the first hour, but we are chock full of a lot for 2 hours here on the program. Counting down towards the Sweet 16, which gets back underway tomorrow. As we get to the weekend, who's going to be happy? Who's going to be filled with excuses? Can I go Philip Marshall?
Yeah.
Will Auburn justify the number one overall seed and move on to the Elite Eight? Only time will tell. Will Alabama play enough defense to allow their offensive firepower to carry them to the Sweet 16? These are questions that only time will tell.
That's correct. You're right about that. Philip also tells us, and I've yet to read it, but it caught my attention, and I think this could be true for not just basketball. Mid-majors are on life support as power programs take over NCAA tournament. Of course, a lot's been made about, well, what teams are still left and what conferences they reside in. And you've got, there again, Big 10, SEC, Big 12 dominating the Sweet 16. Certainly, I think that's what's going to happen in an expanded college football playoff. And with the financial situations and the money that is pouring into these big leagues due mainly to television networks, I think you're going to see a trend of more teams in these types of leagues. But I've been looking at it. I've been trying to get a feel for what I think might happen tomorrow. With Auburn and Michigan, there again, I've been saying this about Auburn a long time, and I am a little surprised out of the 4 number 1 seeds, Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston, that Auburn has the worst odds of those 4 teams to win the national championship from a betting standpoint. That does kind of surprise me.
It does.
Talked about that early in the week. Their matchup with Michigan. Michigan's got a couple of 7-footers.
They've got size. They've been flying under the radar a little bit for several reasons. If Michigan can fly under the radar, there is recency in the belief that there's a team from the state of Alabama that's going to take Michigan lightly in the postseason, and it's going to come back to bite them. It's already happened this academic year. Michigan is 27-9, and a 5 seed. The issue that people have in terms of perception of Michigan basketball is they're not even the best basketball team in the state.
Well, based on their seeding, that's true.
Michigan State has won 29 games, and they've beaten Michigan a couple of times. Michigan has Ole Miss earlier in the day. I think both Michigan and Michigan State are in Atlanta for those games. That's going to be interesting because it's at Phillips Arena. The first game of the Sweet 16 is Ole Miss versus Michigan State. That's at 6:09. When that one's over, they clear out the whole arena, and they bring in the fans from the next game who have to hurry to get in. It's 8:39, Michigan versus Auburn. Golly, if Michigan State gets upset by Ole Miss,
oh boy,
and they're tearing up their tickets and they're stomping out, and here come the Michigan fans going Ralph Wiggum on them. It might be a few.
Is that what that kid's name is?
Is that him? Is that Ralph that did that, or is that I don't know, Sherman or somebody?
Was that Family Guy or Simpsons? But that laugh
was the Simpsons. Yeah,
love that laugh. That's kind of an irritating. I want to irritate you laugh. I like that laugh.
Yeah, I've heard that. So that's the problem with Michigan. They've won 27 games.
Yeah.
And not enough people aren't paying attention to them.
Well, as I mentioned, they got 2 7-footers, which obviously is
big.
something you've got to plan for. You've got the game plan. I don't know. You game plan for 7-footers. You can't teach height. Yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of hard to guard height unless you got some height to guard it with. You got a little, if you had Spud Webb trying to, guard those guys, you can practice all week. It ain't gonna work.
Big time shout out. Big time respect for John, top of his head, going 32 years ago to Spud Webb, 5'7" Atlanta Hawks guard, who won the NBA slam dunk competition. So I'll play that game.
How about that?
If you're expecting Spud Webb or Muggsy Bogues to guard Manute Bol or Yao Ming, you're not going to have good results. But if you're going to have Spud Webb playing one-on-one against Yao Ming on a full court, Spud's going to win that thing every time, right? Ain't no way that Yao Ming's going to be able to keep up with Spud Webb.
Yeah, I would say so.
Court. So that's what you do if you're Auburn. You run those guys. It's hard to move against a 7-footer in a half-court game, but it's a lot easier when that guy's having to run down court over and over again, and he can't get to his defensive positioning because you're already down court pushing the action. So there we go.
So all of the action underneath the bucket in the paint, that it's going to be interesting. I think Auburn's going to be a winner. They're an 8.5. Auburn is the second largest favorite in the Sweet 16 at 8.5 points. Most every one of these games, Barry, is a touchdown or less. 7 points or under. Only 2 games are over 7. Auburn is one of them at 8.5. Duke's the other at 9.5. Everybody else around 6.5 and under. Alabama's a 5.5 point favorite against BYU. Arkansas, a 5.5 point dog to Texas Tech. So these games pretty close. People thinking for some pretty close matchups. Tennessee 4.5 over Kentucky. But Auburn and Duke have the 2 largest point spreads at 8.5. So, you can tell me all about Michigan's Twin Towers, 2 7-footers, whatever.
Yep.
I'm not buying it. I tell you what I am buying, though.
All right. This is team. If John's a buyer, John's buying here. Yeah. He's thumping the watermelon thinking,
Yeah, I'm going Mortimer Duke here.
Yes. Buy.
I'm buying Auburn. I might be selling Alabama, Barry. They're facing a team that has not lost since February the 8th.
Holy smokes.
February the 8th is the last time BYU lost a game. They play a style of basketball that is, very similar to Alabama's. They like to shoot the 3. They like to get up and down the floor.
All this is true.
What team will do it better?
What team will be allowed to do it better? Which team will muddy up the game better than the other one will?
What team will not turn the ball over as much as the other? That has been a problem for the Crimson Tide.
Yes.
What team plays better defense? But obviously BYU on a lengthy winning streak. And I know people are probably looking it up. Yeah, who they beat? Northern Arizona and Nevada, Reno, and Eastern Oregon. I don't know. But they hadn't lost a game since February the 8th.
Is it Eastern Oregon? Is there an Eastern Oregon? No, John was riffing there. I don't think there even is an Eastern Oregon. But his point is well made. They're a hot team. I've seen them play. They look pretty good to me. A lot of good shooters. And I've always thought, and I hope this is not, offensive or anything. I've always thought the teams in Utah have had an advantage because so many of them have been on missions. A wonderful thing to do. They got a couple of guys on their team that are like 20-year-old freshmen, 22-year-old sophomores and stuff like that. And I've always thought that's one of the things that is starting to creep into college basketball that's underrated, are the age of the teams. I don't know if Auburn is the oldest team chronologically, not necessarily basketball experience-wise, but just actual age. I don't know if Auburn's the oldest team left in the tournament, but I can't imagine anybody being much older than them, except for maybe a BYU. And gosh, that's got to count for something, right? I mean, when in the epic matchups, I remember from when the Pie Caps were playing, like like the Pikes or something like that. The Pie Caps got all these seniors, and they're playing a team like the Pikes, who have some really talented freshmen and everything, but those seniors at Pi Kappa Phi, they are those guys. They know a little bit about throwing a hip into somebody when they're driving. What? My hands are right here. They know a little something about when you're jostling for position on a rebound, little bit of a tap in the kidneys, grabbing the shorts. God, what am I doing telling John about some of the tricks of the trade? John knows them all, but that's got to count for something,
that
right?
Everybody has, and that's a rear end. And in basketball, you got to use it. Push people out of the way with it. Back them down. Use that rear end and push that guy out of the lane. Yeah. All day. Love it. Kirk wants a comment talking about how many guys from mid-major programs transferred to power conferences. Kirk, a lot.
A lot.
You have a lot of that.
I mentioned yesterday that that for the first time, I think it's since 2008, there are no seeds 12 and higher in the Sweet 16. Now, there is a 10 seed, the whatever you want to, the lowest seed remaining is not a mid-major. It's Arkansas. I was eating lunch with my buddy Bobby T yesterday, and he was pointing out back in 2004, the numbers were really similar. I mean, you had all the Power 5 schools at the time. They were in the Final Four. I think Syracuse was in the Final Four. Syracuse won it because I remember they beat Auburn that year in the tournament up in New York somewhere. Texas, Kansas was in it. So a lot of the teams at the very end are still similar, John.
Yeah.
But there's no question. I bring you back to, what was it, yesterday, day before yesterday, when the portal opened. Within the first couple of hours, there were 500 basketball players in the portal, and they're not going from the portal. They're not transferring from Georgia Southern to Northern Kentucky just because they love the basketball in Kentucky.
Yep,
they're transferring because of the money.
Sure,
and I can't find it in my heart to blame them. And who has the money? It's the bigger schools. That's the smaller leagues, the level of play in the smaller leagues, the Horizon, really the Sun Belt, the Conference USA and stuff. Definitely this past year was not as good. And the overall level of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why.
Well, you're right. I mean, these good players want to move up to these power leagues. And, Kirk, you're going to see more and more of that. You're going to see it in basketball, football. You can see it in every sport. And it's going to make it more and more difficult. Not only guys leaving these smaller schools and conferences, but the money in those conferences isn't as large as these conferences that you see representing the Sweet 16 tomorrow and Friday. Barry, I did not. Bob from Pike Road tells me a cup of coffee at Hardee's is $1.25. Really?
What, Bob? I don't think that was the point he was making. He says BYU is undefeated since February the 8th. That and $1.25 will get you a small coffee.
Small
at Hardee's.
Really?
He says it's completely irrelevant.
Look, I'm just bringing
kind
up
of like
the fact.
Georgia didn't beat Alabama back in 2009 or something like that in football. I don't know. It really doesn't. I understand what you've done in the recent past. All it is an indicator of what you might be capable of in the future. But he's right. You can't go out on the floor and the guy's really face guarding you and everything. You say, you can't face guard me. We haven't lost since February the 8th. Yeah, you're right, Bob. Once you get on the floor, it's just ball from that
That's
point.
like, that dealer hadn't busted since February the 8th. Doesn't matter right now. Cards don't know.
That's right.
Just threw that out there, Bob. I just thought that was a little nugget.
He's not bringing that up as a point that will be brought to bear in the game. It's quite frankly, I believe, and I'm not speaking for John. John brought that up to caution all of those smug Alabama fans who are already making their plans for the Elite Eight. BYU. What do we know about BYU, really?
Well, I'll just say this, Barry. If you haven't lost since February 8th, I would believe that your team's pretty confident.
That's all he's saying.
They're feeling pretty good about themselves. They haven't lost in a while. All right, got a lot going on today. At the bottom of this hour, we're going to try to figure out how many wins the Tennessee Vols will have this year in college football. They're the team of the day. Barry only got 4 more left. Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M, and Vandy are the next 4. We have really gone through this. Been a lot of fun. So we'll look at the volunteers today. Also, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News. He's going to join us at the top of the next hour.
Yep.
The Phantoms Daily Dog, Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland Topic Wheel. We have got a lot going on today. Spring football in Tuscaloosa and in Auburn.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the eve of the start of yet again another Major League Baseball season.
Opening day tomorrow. Cannot wait. Full day starting early afternoon. We've got plenty to discuss about that as well. If you're new to the program, thank you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your friends. We're available all over the place. If you're on the internet anywhere, just Google Longshore and McKnight, and it'll give you a long list of where you can
I want to send a shout out to Joe from Ottawa, Ontario.
Joe Mitch,
listens on Spotify. Sent an email yesterday. Loves the Spotify. Joe, so glad that you enjoy it. Tell your friends. Yep, you can listen to Longshore McKnight on Spotify. Joe, thank you so much for that.
Also, if you're newbies, again, hit like, hit subscribe, be a part of the program. We appreciate it. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're with us here on this Wednesday morning. Bob smoked me out.
Here we go.
Bob smoked me out, thinking that Alabama's win at Neville Arena is bigger than any win that BYU. Does that really matter? But
Hey, will that factor into the price of a cup of coffee at Hardee's? Does that really matter? I mean, that was a win for somebody. Do we not look at past wins, or do we? I wonder.
BYU did lose to Ole Miss earlier in the year. Back in November, the Rebels beat them in overtime.
Mention that, yeah.
Providence beat them back in December. Houston, the Cougars, who was their number 1 seed, beat them bad. Beat them by, 30? Woo. Yeesh.
Houston will do that to people.
Yeah, I know. Texas Tech beat them. TCU beat them. Texas Tech's still in the tournament. So is Houston.
Yeah.
So they went on that long winning streak. They did lose in their conference tournament, but since in the regular season, they did not lose. They went from February the 8th until March the 13th without losing. About 10 games in a row, it looks like.
Yeah.
That they won. And those, West Virginia, Kansas State, Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State, they beat Iowa State twice in 2 weeks. So they beat a lot of top 20 teams in that run. So looking at their schedule, BYU doesn't look like chopped liver to me.
That's all. That's the only point John's making. It's the only point I'm making. BYU is good. That's the point. That's what BYU is, a talented team that is capable of besting the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
I will stand by that point as well. Auburn football. First day in pads. 4th day of spring camp yesterday morning at the Woolaws Performance Center.
Yep. There
is a practice report from Nathan King from yesterday in which, center, he goes through notes, right? This is at auburnundercover.com. Center Connor Liu was a non-participant in practice. Obviously, the media is not there for all of it. The media is there for very little bit. This is what the fans are relegated with. Instead of having your buddies out there, and John remembers being at practice, and you got guys over there at the intramural fields at Auburn pulling their trucks up to the back. They got a cooler of Bud Light. They're sitting there cracking a Bud Light in their lounge chairs, in their folding chairs, watching practice, watching players do up downs and sprints and stuff like that. Here are some of the notes. And again, check it out. Full disclosure or full coverage available at auburnundercover.com. This is what people will absolutely fixed on. It's just padded spring practice. They're not scrimmaging or anything. Deuce Knight throws a mortar. He was almost knocking some of the receivers back with how hard he throws it. A ball downfield leaves his hand effortlessly. This is Nathan King, who I really like, by the way. Nathan, do you know what you're doing, man? You know what all these old boys who are fixated on Auburn, what they're doing? Oh man, I'm telling you, boys, he's going to be the starter. He's going to be the man. All because a ball downfield leaves his hands effortlessly. Also, later on, in the one-on-one portion of play, there was a pick six of Jackson Arnold. Again, Justin Drills. A pick six over Jackson Arnold.
They had a former quarterback over there whose last name they kind of twisted it around. They call him Bo Picks. Is they going to come up with some little cutesy name for Jackson Arnold?
See, that's what he's doing. That's what these people who are starved for information, that's what they're doing right now. And I'm not just talking about Auburn fans. There's a fan base over there right now that are looking. Oh, hey, did you see? Oh, first day of practice, he threw a pick six in drills. Oh, we got Wilson. You guys, I tell you what. Oh, yeah, Caleb Harris had a pick six of Arnold.
Well, I mean,
You
let's
gotta
face it.
throw these things out. You got to feed them. You know, when you're feeding the monkeys at the zoo, you're not just tossing just a bunch of bananas in there and say, have at it. You got to give them a slice. You know, you got to make them peel it a little bit instead of just throwing it in there and say, they're throwing too much stuff at people who are prone to taking any information.
Pace yourself.
And absolutely overreacting to all of it.
Do not give them too much. You've got to pace yourself. So, yeah, wow. And, you know, in Jackson Arnold's defense, Barry, I mean, you know, first time out there, he's got to feel his groove. He's got to figure out these DBs. I'm going to cut the kid a little slack now. Yeah. I mean, if he does that in the opener against Baylor, uh-oh.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, he's in there. He's saying it's practice. Let me go ahead and try to fit it in that window. And if it doesn't, big deal. Big deal.
I do want to say this, though, Barry. I was pleased to hear Coach Freeze address his prostate issue with the media yesterday, and kind of went into that and went into, well, probably a little bit more detail than I wanted to know, but I'm certainly aware of it. But be that as it may, glad to know that he brought that out there. And there again, once again, and we've talked about it many a times on this program, guys, you can't look the other way. You've got to get your prostate checked, particularly if you're in your late 40s, early 50s. You need to get it done. It should be a part of your annual physical. If it's not, you need to make it part of your annual physical. I was young when I got prostate cancer, relatively young. I was in my very early 50s. Was I concerned and scared when I first heard about it? You better believe it. But, the best way to sum it up, it's not as bad as you think. It really isn't. My procedure
if you catch
extremely
it early.
well, it no doubt. And as Hugh Freeze has done, and that's the key, Barry. That's why you got to get the checks. That's why you got to get the prostate exams. You got to check it early. You got to catch it early. And I was very fortunate that mine was caught early. Had prostate surgery, had it removed, and man, I've never looked back.
The most valuable part to me of what Hugh Freeze said, somebody asked him about it, about the prostate cancer diagnosis, and he said it's really surreal or something like that. He said it's really surreal because I've never felt better in my life. He said I'm in the best shape I've been in the last 10 years. I feel great. Guys, that's a point. Even you may be listening to John and listening to his story and saying, "Oh, that's not me. I mean, I feel fine."
Yeah.
Still get it done. If feeling fine right now ain't got a thing to do with it.
Barry, that's I guess that's the sneaky part about it. You do feel fine. I mean, you're not going to be ill unless your prostate cancer is well developed and it's you had it there for a long time, so to speak. But I mean, I never felt different, felt fine. But it was detected and during a routine annual physical, and we actively monitored it for over a month, several months, because it was such a small, the diagnosis when a biopsy was taken, there was a very small, amount. They wanted to take a look at it, which they did. And when I had the second biopsy about 12 to 18 months later, they had noticed that it had gotten a little bigger. I said, that's all I needed to hear. I said, we're done. And had the prostatectomy, and it was fine. And there again, I've talked to so many people about this procedure. I can't, there again, get it done, get your annual physical, get your prostate exam, and make your decision. But I'm telling you, you're hearing it from a guy that did it and never regretted it for a minute.
Yeah. Do it for your kids. Do it for your wife.
Sure.
Do it for your grandkids, make sure that you're around for them as they're growing up and being a part of their lives. And
Coach Freeze is going to be, and I get it. He's, I can't believe it's me. I was the same way, Barry. I can't believe it's me. I'm young. I'm in my early 50s.
I feel great.
No way.
Yeah,
I'm active. I exercise. I eat well. What do you mean? How come me? And once you get over that, that took about a day, right. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, Coach, I get it, what he's going through, but he's going to be fine.
Yes. And that's because he's being responsible about it. When we come back, More about what we've been talking about, what Kirk Lehman's talking about on our chat line as well. The death of Cinderella.
Uh-oh.
In the NCAA tournament, men's and women's. We'll talk about that as well. About a half hour away from a visit with C.J. Duncan from Yellowhammer News. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, 28 minutes to the top of the hour on this Wednesday. Chris, I do not know what a cup of coffee at the Waffle House costs. It's been a minute. Usually when I go, it's just part of my overall check. I don't itemize it to see what the coffee cost. I'm going to say $1.50. What's a cup of coffee? I mean, I don't go to Starbucks where it's $5 a cup. I ain't paying $5 for a cup of coffee. But
I don't even drink coffee. I'm with you. Who's looking at there saying, that pecan waffle a little more than it used to be, right? And who does look at that? Let me see. Golly, if I only got it just covered and didn't get it capped and chunked, I probably could save 39 cents.
I think I know where Chris is going here with the Waffle House reference. Who else? Oh, well, Coach Cross is a big Waffle House. They wrote a story about that. I saw that at Yellowhammer News.
That was so funny. Yeah, Yellowhammer News has done a good job of covering Troy athletics. For those of you who watch me because of my association with Troy, check out Yellowhammer News. They do a good covering everything, really, but they've done a good job with Troy in the NCAA tournament. And he said, if this was on a podcast he did with a Kentucky statewide radio network, and he said, look, if they come to Troy, Troy's got 2 Waffle Houses.
Oh, wow.
And only 15,000 people. Troy's interested. You got 2 Waffle Houses. You got 2 Piggly Wigglies for a town of 15,000. 1 Piggly Wiggly won't serve. You have to have 2 to handle the crush, I guess.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But he said, we've had players come in, prospects come in, and you say, hey, where do you want to go to breakfast? We got Waffle House. And they're like, Waffle House? You kidding me? Waffle House? But then you had other guys, including one of my favorites named Nick Stampley. They're riding by trying to find a place to go to breakfast. He says, man, you got Waffle House? Let's eat there tomorrow.
Yeah.
That guy ended up being one of the toughest players Troy ever had. You can't be bougie out there. You got to, Waffle House is America. I wish the country sometimes was run like Waffle House. I mean, Doge could go into Waffle House and they could spend 15 minutes. They'll look around. Elon could look in there, over a bowl of Burt's chili, or get him one of the ham and cheese omelets and look over there and just pay attention. And 15 minutes later, Elon's going, I got nothing, man.
No, I'm with you, Barry.
Great.
As I've told you before, I have met Burt of Burt's Chili, and we talked about Waffle House. Actually, he did. I listened, and it's incredible how that company is run. He worked for Waffle House for 40 years. Yeah. He invented the chili recipe. I didn't know that till he left the restaurant, getting in his car, and I looked at his business card, and I looked at it, and I went, Burt. And then it hit me, and I went out in the parking lot. I tapped on the glass. He rolled the window down. I said, your business card here. Burt, are you Burt of Burt's Chili? He grinned. He went, do you like the chili? I went, man, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
I'm the man.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Dennis Mitchell says we need a huddle house in Montgomery. Come on. Huddle house
and Pike Road. That would be nice. Dennis needs a nice, solid place, to take a nice lady,
Barry, I don't think I've ever been to a huddle house. Seen them. I don't think I've ever been to one.
I've eaten lunch many times. There used to be a huddle house in Troy until I guess Waffle House chased him out of business. Coach Blakey and I used to go to.
Is the menu a lot different?
It looks different colors, different names. Okay. An All-American is something else, but me and Coach Blakey used to go every once.
I want to say Dennis said he had fried shrimp at the huddle house. He's a big fan of
the one in Wetumpka, right? Am I hallucinating?
So they actually fry food at the huddle houses. They do not fry food at Waffle House. I do know that. There is no fryer.
They do sizzle the bacon pretty good. That's about.
Oh yeah, that's all on the grill. The hash browns, the bacon, but no deep frying, not gonna happen.
Yeah. Here's what we're talking about again, March Madness. Can I say March Madness? March Madness.
I think you can.
It is there are, again, it is true that the age of Cinderella is dead. You remember some of those great old Cinderella teams that made their way through Florida Atlantic. Remember them? They got to the Final Four one year. I've done a million games at Florida Atlantic. Their gym's not even as good as a high school gym. Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four in 2023, not last year, but the year before. Less than 2 full years ago, Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four. Hard to imagine. Their coach and their top 3 scorers are still in the tournament. Wow. All of them at different schools. All 3 of them. Their coach, Dusty May, is the head coach at Michigan. One of those 7-footers at Michigan that John's talking about. Vlad Golden, he transferred with him from Florida Atlantic. John L. Davis is at Arkansas. Elijah Martin at Florida. Florida Atlantic made the Final Four. Cinderella story, and they got gutted. Florida Atlantic, I think, was playing in the NIT this year. That's happening all over the country, John, where, again, I think the player of the year in the Sun Belt Conference for 4 straight years, whoever's been named player of the year in the Sun Belt Conference has gone in the transfer portal, including Tatum Connerway at Troy, who declared for the transfer portal. The NIL, the unrestricted ability to transfer, John, without any penalty, you can go. I mean, you can go. You can chase that money. Does it matter? Well, I'll tell you this, John. The first weekend of the NCAA tournament, the most watched opening weekend since 1993.
Oh, wow.
Here's the point. Fans don't care. Viewers don't care. I'm not watching this game. I think it's terrible what they're doing to the Murray States and the Central Arkansas and the Cal Davises of the world. No. People are going to watch. People are not going to watch just because you're not seeing any Mississippi Valley States or you're not seeing any Texas San Antonios. The people who are just casual basketball fans, unfortunately, they're looking at name brands.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I think you can see the same thing in football as well. The Ohio States, the Texases, Penn States, Alabamas, whatever. People know Duke. They know Duke. They're going to watch Duke in Arizona. They know Kentucky and Tennessee. I mean, these are names people are familiar with. Michigan. Certainly Michigan's been had a long Michigan State. So, yeah, these are teams that people all across the country are familiar with. And then you throw in the Auburns and Alabama, they're familiar with them because of football. Oh, well, they play basketball too? Well, let me check them out.
For people who are not, we've said this before about baseball, not necessarily for football. The absolute rock solid, rabid college basketball fan is going to watch. Hey, Fred, you want to come over? I'm really interested to see how Xavier runs that 1-3-1 full court press. You got some of those guys. They are not the vast constituency of your viewership. Your viewership is Fred, who's a CPA in Allen, Texas, and he's thinking, hey, man, we got 4 games tonight in the NCAA tournament. Oh, Maryland, Florida? Hey, wow, Arizona and Duke, 2 blue bloods? They couldn't tell you butkus about Arizona and Duke except the fact that they are Arizona and they are Duke. That's the guy who's going to watch it because of that, who's not necessarily rank and file, got to watch a basketball game every night kind of guy.
And they're again very
ratings.
Yeah, you're right. They're familiar. They know them. They've heard of them. They know the logos. They know the colors. And now in 39 states, you're able to wager legally on those games to make your attention even stick around longer for the game. I've been saying this for 40 years. Does America really care to watch Texas Tech and Arkansas? Yeah, if you're a basketball junkie, if you're a basketball fan, sports fan, but what about that other large element of the sporting society that, I might watch a little bit of it, but I don't know if it's going to grab my attention for the whole game. You got a couple of bucks on it, you're watching the whole game. That's why gambling has become such a big part of the sport community, the regulated gambling aspect. This unregulated stuff, forget it.
78% of the American of the United States, you can gamble legally. 78%.
Yes, you can.
If you were a 78% free throw shooter, you'd be pretty doggone good, right?
What if you batted 78% in Major League Baseball? I mean,
they'd probably ban you from the sport for a competitive advantage.
But Barry, this is legal, regulated sports wagering, which is huge. And you're going to hear a lot about regulated sports wagering because there's a lot of unregulated sports wagering going on that affects a lot of people in the wrong way. But yeah, I mean, $10, $20, and the majority of these wagers are $10, $20. It's not big. People aren't betting big money. They're just wanting to do something for a little entertainment, a little extra juice on the game. And yeah, 78% of the country. The Tennessee Vols. Barry, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. This really hit me like a baseball bat. There are 2 teams in the SEC, and they just happen to be right behind each other in alphabetical order. So we'll probably talk about this again tomorrow. We're talking about Tennessee, who we're profiling today, and the Texas Longhorns. Both of those teams made the college football playoff last year. They're the only 2 teams in the SEC last year. Both of these teams played Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. They're the only 2 in the league that played all 4 of those teams.
Run them through one more time.
Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vandy, and Kentucky.
Ooh.
I don't know if those 4 were the exact bottom 4 teams in the football standings at the end of the year. Oklahoma might have been 6th from the bottom. But basically, that was the bottom 4th of the SEC in terms of win total ranking in order of finish from top to bottom in the SEC. So Texas and Tennessee had the luxury of facing the 4 worst teams in the SEC, basically. You know what? They're facing them again this year.
Yep. Tennessee, according to Bet Online, their updated preseason SEC win total is set at 9.5.
Well, they've only got 4. They've already got 4 wins.
Well, actually, counting East Tennessee State and UAB and New Mexico State,
how about
they
Syracuse?
actually have 7. So now we got to pick 3 wins. If you want to go over, you got to pick 3 wins against the biggies. The Georgia Bulldogs in Knoxville, the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, the Florida Gators in Gainesville, the Syracuse Orange in Atlanta.
They'll beat them. Yeah, but I'm with. That's the Aflac kickoff game, as a matter of fact. I see here.
Yes.
So I got to listen to that Duck the whole broadcast, and Nick Saban probably as well.
At least you're not going to have Beth Mowins, though. You have to listen to her.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I think they'll beat Syracuse. East Tennessee certainly. Man, if they beat Georgia in week 3, hello. But yeah, I'm looking at there again. UAB, East Tennessee, New Mexico wins. There again, I mentioned Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Vandy, in Kentucky. Beat all them last year. They'll beat them all again this year.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see, can they get, okay, they lose to Alabama and Georgia. That's still 10 wins. Is there another team that could beat Tennessee?
Florida on the road in Gainesville.
Before that big game against Vandy. Could be a look ahead there.
Yeah, could be a look ahead there. I will say this. They will not lose to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That won't happen. I'm trying to pick out 3 wins above the obvious wins to get them over 9.5. One of them is Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They'll win that game. Florida in Gainesville.
Here comes a chat from Bob. I can feel it coming.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, something about the price of coffee. They'll beat Oklahoma in Knoxville.
Didn't Oklahoma beat them last year?
I'm on it. Hang on.
I think Arkansas and Oklahoma beat Tennessee. I want to say.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Tennessee will lose a game they're not supposed to lose.
Yeah.
Tennessee beat Oklahoma in Norman, but after an off week, they lost at Arkansas. They also lost at Georgia, and of course, they lost to Ohio State.
To me, it's kind of hard. At minimum, Tennessee's going to win 9 games.
That's the 10th.
Yeah. If they lose to Alabama, Georgia, and maybe Florida and Gainesville, but with that SEC schedule and that week non-conference schedule, this has got. I don't see how they can't win 9 games. Now over 9.5.
That's my problem. Yeah. I feel less comfortable about this than any of the team we previewed so far, because I'm with you. The number's 9.5. That's the one that Vegas is probably the closest on in their preseason. So I think they win 9 games. But John, for the life of me, I cannot figure out how they're going to win that 10th or
I'm
where
with you there.
Come.
I think that
I'm going under, but just barely under.
Yeah, that hook is very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like under 9.5 for Tennessee as well. I'm just not sure they can get to that 10th win. They could, and that's why that number is at such an interesting spot at 9.5. But I definitely see 2 losses, and I can certainly lean to a third for them to finish 9-3.
What you have to watch out for. You remember last year, and Tennessee fans. I mean, you've marveled at their belief that they are, the program that invented football, that Tennessee is the cream of the SEC. Some people in this conference absolutely can't stand them to even say that because they know that they are. You remember last year, Chattanooga Tennessee opened up the year 69-3 over Chattanooga, 51-10 over North Carolina State, 71-0 over Kent State, and you thought, oh, this team, those Tennessee fans, once again, as they are prone to do, once again claim ownership of the entire college football world. And yet they made it to the college football playoff. But their game against Ohio State in the first round,
good.
Not close. So,
Gurn, thank you for that panel of the Tennessee schedule. Appreciate that. We can go through it as we reveal it. Barry, let's take a break. As when we come back, Dennis Mitchell has asked you about 5 questions this morning about coaching. We want Dennis to get his answers.
We got to keep him. Yeah, we got to keep him happy. Dennis on our River Region Straw Chat line in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry joining us here today. Of course, Marguerite's 8163 Vaughn Road in Peppertree. And Marianne, tell us where you are today. That's a very interesting piece of equipment I see.
Exactly. Yeah, I promise it's not growing out of my head, but this is our microscope. We're not in the science lab, but jewelry, as you know, has lots of different components. And at Marguerite's, we have a fully trained staff. Myself and Benji and Lyle have all gone to GIA, which stands for the Gemological Institute of America. I did my training in Carlsbad, California. Lyle and Benji did their training in New York. And they train us to look at the anatomy of a diamond or the anatomy of a gemstone. So we look through this microscope and we can do other tests like RA and different things with acids and different types of chemicals, and through different types of magnification and UV light, we can tell if a gemstone is in fact natural or synthetic or what type of stone it is. If great-grandma had this green stone that she wore every day, we can tell you if it's an emerald or a peridot, lots of different things. But again, just like we've said before, we're a full-service jeweler at Marguerite's. So we can help you get in the know when it comes to your stone, tell you about the anatomy of your diamond, or tell you what the heck it is.
Yep, that is fantastic, Marianne. A full-service jeweler. That's so important. Where are you located? Give us your hours of operation so our viewers and listeners can come see you.
Most definitely. 8163 Vaughn Road in the Peppertree Shopping Center. We're close to Chappie's Deli. We're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Go by and see them, folks. Marianne and that staff can help you with all of your jewelry needs. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks.
Okay, welcome back in. About 8 minutes to the top of the hour. Dennis Mitchell has been very active on our River Region Straw chat line today. You can as well. Yep. Also, you can email Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com into our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox.
All right, Dennis, we need Huddle House in the Montgomery and Pike Road area. It'd be nice. What's going on with the West Virginia coaching search? Haven't heard anything about that necessarily. They lose Darren DeVries, a former Drake coach. They lose Darren DeVries to Indiana. He also says Nico Medved to Minnesota, a former Drake coach. Ben McCollum to Iowa. Guess where he used to coach this past year? At Drake. What's the story there? He says also to Sean Miller to Texas. Your thoughts? That one underwhelmed me. I thought Texas could have done better than that. Texas has got all the money in the world. They could get anybody. We had heard early on that they may make a play at Nate Oates.
Yeah.
I think they may have just put out a couple of feelers. To Oates' agent, hey, we're Texas. What about Nate? And they said no. Patino's son left New Mexico. Yeah, Richard Patino is now the head coach at Xavier, taking over for Sean Miller, who went to Texas. New Mexico. New Mexico is one of those schools, John. And I've done a jillion games with a jillion different schools. I've done a game in Albuquerque at the Super Pit. I've never done a game with New Mexico. It is a state school. It is a large school in New Mexico. I have never met a New Mexico fan. I know somebody who used to coach it. I've never talked with anybody and said, hey, what game you looking for this weekend? And they said, oh, New Mexico. Golly, go Lobos. They're just kind of there, right?
Yep.
There's a few schools like that.
my feet have touched the ground in a lot of states in this country.
Yeah.
Mexico's one I've never been to. I've flown over it, but I've never set foot in the state of Mexico, New Mexico before.
I have
Probably
been
need
there
to do
many
that one day.
times. It's yeah. I've been to New Mexico State a couple of times, been to University of New Mexico. Just one of those places where you're like,
yeah, and I always
guess we
wondered,
got a school
Barry,
there.
when all of these people were crossing the border illegally, they never crossed into New Mexico. It was always Arizona or Texas. What's wrong with New Mexico? How come the illegal border crossings never happen? And I know New Mexico's border's not as lengthy as Texas or Arizona, but you never heard anybody going, they're crossing the wall over here in New Mexico. We better go put a stop to that.
I don't know. Maybe they're thinking, man, I'm not happy at all with old Mexico. Why would I go to New Mexico? I don't know. He also mentions that Andrew Luck has fired Troy Taylor at Stanford. There's an ESPN report about allegations that Troy Taylor, the Stanford head football coach, was belittling women staffers and was discourteous to them and all that. And at the beginning, Andrew Luck, who's the GM, he met with the team with Coach Taylor and voiced his support. Well, now Andrew Luck has fired him. What's interesting there, I mean, who cares about Troy Taylor, is that, different schools have different titles for that. Director of operations, director of football operations, general manager. Now that they've gone into the NFL mode of things, like Michael Lombardi's the general manager of North Carolina. So-and-so is the general manager at Auburn. Well, the general manager at Auburn, he ain't the one firing Hugh Freeze if he's going to get fired. It's interesting to me that Andrew Taylor, who's the general manager of Stanford football, and you think, maybe he'll be the face of the program. Maybe he'll, shake a few recruits' hands and everything, talk about the glory days, Christian McCaffrey and all that. No, man, he's running it. He came in and he fired the guy. I didn't know that Andrew Luck had that kind of authority. Maybe you're going to start seeing that happen more often, where the athletic director just says, all right, you handling everything about football, just tell me how it goes and if I can do anything to help.
And if you need to fire somebody, go do
go
it.
Ahead.
So,
man,
Dennis,
go ahead.
With a ton of questions today. Dennis, no, I'm not offended that you never say, hey, John, what are your thoughts about this? John, who do you think the next head coach will be at where? It's okay, Dennis. It's okay. You don't have to ask my thoughts about these sports topics. It's okay. You would have thought, the long, illustrious history that we have with Dennis, lifetime of
he'd ask you one of those questions.
Yeah, you'd think every night he'd ask me one.
Well, it's one of those deals where Dennis will say, hey, do you remember Bruno Sammartino or the Bushwhackers or the British Bulldogs or anything? I'm like, no. There's probably too many of those. He'd ask me about Pak Song and the Korean Claw and, Bobby the Brain Heenan and stuff like that. And we'd have a conversation. John's like, no, I don't know them.
I've heard people
make
you
told him that you thought the wrestling was not real. I thought that was the
choreographed. Well, probably it started years ago when I said our local paper, instead of putting the wrestling articles in the sports section, they ought to put them in the entertainment/lifestyle section, because there's no business being in the sport.
That was probably it. Well, I've got to cut out. In a moment, CJ Duncan will join us. We'll join John as we roll on through the Wednesday live show in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. Okay, just after the top of the hour on this Wednesday edition of Longshore and McKnight. So glad you were with us here. Quickly want to remind everybody about our friends at Mosquito Authority. You know, the weather's getting warmer. There's a lot of rain, wet. Man, it is perfect for those pesky mosquitoes to ruin your outdoor activities. Don't let that happen. Mosquito Authority can rid your property of mosquitoes. Look, I didn't believe it. I said, no way. I got a ditch behind my house. I got a lot of shrubbery. Man, I've got a just breeding ground for mosquitoes. I don't think you can eliminate my mosquito problem. Well, they proved me wrong because they certainly were able to do it. Let them do it at your property as well. Hey, look, no spray's too small or too large. They can handle it all. Check them out at bugsbite.com. That's bugsbite.com, or dial them up 648-0936. That's 648-0936. And mention Longshore and McKnight to get half off your first spray for new customers at Mosquito Authority. Start enjoying your outdoor living spaces with Mosquito Authority. Okay, joining me now, as he does each and every Wednesday, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News. Hey, CJ, good morning. Thanks for adjusting your schedule today. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning, John. Thank you. No, I'm happy to be here.
So I got to ask you first and foremost, how's your bracket looking? Who you got in your Sweet 16?
You know what? My bracket is not too bad. As you all know, everything's pretty chalk, so that was helpful to me. I missed on the Ole Miss pick. Very, very shocked on how well they've been able to do. John Calipari, kind of shocking the world here. I guess that's the biggest upset of the tournament so far, is them getting as far as they've done. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. John, how about yourself?
Well, not too bad. I'm doing pretty well. And I kind of, got away from the non-Power 5, because I'm Power 5 heavy as the Sweet 16 is. I mean, you look at it, Big 10, SEC, Big 12, very prominent here in the Sweet 16. And we were talking about this earlier, CJ. That just seems to be, I think, what's going to be the future and the trend, and not really only in basketball. I think you could see it in other sports. A lot of these smaller conferences, smaller schools, these big boys are going in there and picking, perching, poaching, whatever you want to call it, the better players in those leagues. And I think you're seeing it with these dominant conferences represented so strongly in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I agree. I think that initially people were hoping for a little bit more parity, with the idea of the money being able to be distributed legally, right? But I think, certain schools just have more money. And when that happens, those big teams are able to poach the guys that they really want, the really talented folks. And that's when you start to see, a big separation in between these powerhouses and these kind of mid-level to lower-level ball clubs.
Yeah, you don't see the Cinderellas anymore. We were talking about Florida Atlantic. They made the Final Four a couple of years ago. They got a gym about the size of the one over there at St. James where you played. I mean, it's not very big for a college team, but I think that's what we're going to miss is those type teams in the future. And I think you could go as far as the college football playoff, whether we're at 14 or 16. You know, you're going to have that one bid going to a school that is not in the Power Five. But CJ, I think as the college football playoff moves down the road, it's going to be a playoff in what I call a bunch of big boys. I don't think you're going to see a Sun Belt or a MAC or a Mountain West team in there in the next 3 or 4 years.
John, you know I played in the SEC, but as a Vanderbilt grad, I do feel like the underdog a lot of times. And when you are a ball club like that, you know, you feel like you can compete at least for a quarter and a half. You feel like your starters, you know, match up pretty decently against the other so-called blue blood. But the problem is depth, right? And when you get it late into the game or late into the season, those guys just have more depth. Their second and third string guys could probably start on your ball club or whatever it may be. So I think that's what you're starting to see is, you know, it's not that there isn't any talent at these lower level ball clubs, but, you know, when things get hard, you know, if one person gets injured later in the game, later in the season, it's really tough to recover from that. And those big boys, as you say, they just got more depth and they just wear you down over time and eventually get that win.
Well, they do. To this point, we'll go back to basketball. We mentioned this earlier in the week. For what it's worth, and I want to see what Vegas thinks. What's the feel from a gambling standpoint? Yeah, because, you know, heck, they're putting their money where their mouth is. Of the 4 number 1 seeds, CJ, Auburn has the longest odds to win the national championship. Duke's at about 225. Florida's right behind at about 350. Houston's right there at about 400. And Auburn's at 525. Your thoughts about the number 1 seeds? All 4 of them are still in it. Auburn not seem to get as much love as other teams. And a lot of people still talking highly about Florida.
You know what? I don't blame them for talking highly about Florida. Florida looks like they are running on all cylinders. Auburn is starting to play well. I feel like they are starting to get back into that midseason form that they had. Duke looks very impressive. Duke is one of those teams that has a good mixture of older guys and young guys. And then you probably have the best player in the country as well on that team. They're a team that I wouldn't take my eyes off of. Houston's another veteran team as well that plays really good defense. You know, I mean, those are the best teams. To me, they are the best teams. You know, you would love to see something dramatic happen, but the best ball clubs are the ones that are winning and that are still in this thing. And I think they all have a real good shot. It's just a matter of who's better that particular day.
So Alabama fans have not been happy, CJ, over the last couple of days because I've given them an opinion that they don't really want to hear. I'm not so sure they're going to beat BYU on Thursday. BYU went they went through the regular season. Their last loss was like February the 8th in the regular season. They did lose in their conference tournament, but they won a lengthy winning streak. They play a brand of basketball similar to Alabama. They love the 3. They love to run. They love a fast-paced game. They're not going to try to slow it down. So I don't know how that bodes for Alabama, and I'm still concerned about Alabama turning the ball over as much as they do. Sometimes they have lapses in defense. I think BYU is going to be a tough out for the Crimson Tide on Thursday.
It's going to be a tough out. It really is. And I mean, they're coming off a really, really impressive win against Wisconsin. I had Wisconsin going all the way to playing Duke, in the final, I guess in the Elite Eight. So, I mean, very impressive win. I think for Alabama, I told someone recently, look, your stars got to be stars, right? When your stars show up and they play well, it allows everybody else, it allows the role players to get comfortable in their roles, right, in their positions. And so Mark Sears and Grant Nelson have to be stars, and that's the only way that they will win out for the rest of this tournament. Yeah,
I agree with you. They've got to step up, be stars, and there again, they kind of evolved in the tournament last year. I mean, they had some of their best games in tournament play. So you're right. I mean, we've seen Grant Nelson and what he's done the last couple of games. I think Mark Sears has got to be more consistent for 40 minutes, not just the last 5. And he's been great in the last 5 minutes of these games, but to play in the entire 40 minutes, I think that's going to be huge for this team moving forward. And then there again, CJ, you just mentioned them. If Alabama beats BYU, look who's heading up next. More than likely, the Duke Blue Devils.
And I tell you what, John, they are very impressive. And their coach Shire he seems like a boy genius when it comes to basketball. He's had a lot of history as a player, but now he's solidifying himself as a coach as well. And then you add Cooper Flagg to that, a guy that's energized, a guy that's motivated. I think about halfway through the season, there was discussion of whether or not he's the number 1 pick, and they just put a battery in his back. He's just gotten better and better and better as the season's gone on, and that's a team that I don't know that I want to face right now. They are rolling on all cylinders, and they're one of those blue bloods they're used to that spotlight too. I think as you get closer to that championship game, you also have to take into account who's ready for the big stage, who's okay with being on the big stage and can continue to play a good brand of ball and not freeze up or not tense up in that moment. And Duke is one of those teams, they expect to be there. They say that's where we're supposed to be,
Sure.
And that makes a difference. Alabama for years in football, I think they would win ball games running out of the tunnel, right? Because they expected, one, because of their size, but because they expected to be there. And the other team is just happy to be there. And I think Duke is one of those teams that expects to be in the Elite Eight, Final Four, and even the championship game.
I know who you want to win this game, but it is an interesting matchup. 2 SEC schools, Kentucky taking on Tennessee. I got to think you're going to be going for the Big Blue against the Big Orange.
Absolutely. We are rolling with the Big Blue. We believe they will be the heavy favorite here. Tennessee's got, a great ball club and they seem to, and they've been pretty consistent all year. They've been a top SEC ball club all year. Rick Barnes always doing a heck of a job. I guess this is his second, maybe third school kind of taking them as far as he has. But yeah, we need Kentucky to win this game in a bad way because, Tennessee already, they won baseball last year. They beat us in football this year. It's got to stop at some point. Enough is enough.
Yeah, enough is enough.
It's got to stop.
CJ, I wanted to get your thoughts about being a former player in the SEC at Vanderbilt, playing football. There was no such thing as an NIL or a transfer portal when you were playing. I got a feeling you would have liked to have had an NIL when you were there. I don't know what athlete would not have liked that. But if you didn't, please let us know. I want to think. I would have. Heck, I wanted an NIL for sports broadcasters. What are you talking about?
I'm still looking for eligibility.
But your thoughts mainly about the transfer portal. If the transfer portal was where it is today, back when you were playing, do you think you would have liked that? Would you have maybe thought about that, or would you have liked your teammates transferring away from a school that you'd put your heart and soul into, or maybe your thoughts about guys coming into your program that didn't start like you started when you were playing in college?
John, I tell you that right there, that issue bothers me way more than the money part of it does. I think the portal is something that I don't know that I can get over. I think that needs to be addressed first before anything else. There is something to loyalty with me. I'm like that even in my regular life outside of sports. And there's something to loyalty. There's something about, I think the win feels better when you feel like you've overcome adversity as well. And I think right now we are teaching the kids that, hey, if you do hit a wall, if you do hit some adversity, then it's okay to leave. But, for me, coming from a private school, it was hard to get the attention of SEC ball clubs. Then I finally did it. It felt that much better, right? And then I get to college, get redshirted. And then when I finally get on the field, I lead the team in receiving, and I'm on preseason All SEC teams. Right? It feels that much better, right? And then I tear my Achilles, and that's another hurdle to jump. Figure that out. Finish off my career very well. So and had a lot of opportunities to just go the different direction, say this is too much for me, and I'm pretty sure it would not have worked out. But the relationships that I built there, the lessons that I learned through all those things, I'm using them now as a husband to my wife, and to be a good friend and be a good brother and son, all those things. And I feel like we're missing that. We're missing the boat with that with these kids. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. It's one thing to transfer once, right? If your
Yeah.
situation is not working out for you, right? If you feel like you're the third running back at Georgia, I get it. You should probably get in the portal. But there has to be some type of contract signed with that next team saying, hey, listen, I have to be here for at least a year and a half or 2 years, whatever. There has to be some type of contractual agreement between you and that program. Um, and there has to be consequences, right? I think a lot of people talking about, how, oh, well, coaches get to move whenever they want to. No, but there's a buyout there, right? So the
Yep.
school they're going to
Yep.
has to send back money to the previous school, right? So there has to be something there where it's like there needs to be a transfer of wealth or something, or excuse me, of money or something, in order to break that contract, right? And so I think if we do that, we'll see more guys stay. We'll see guys grow, and you know what? These fan bases will love them for it. They love a comeback story, and they love a team a player that's stuck with their team, and they'll follow them to the NFL as well. So I think that
Yeah.
the portal needs to be addressed.
I'm with you there, CJ, and I'm so glad to hear you say that. Yeah, I think that too many athletes taking the so-called easy way out, going down the easy street, or they think it is, with multiple transfers, and that's not real life. That's not the real world. When you get into it, you're not going to be, having that ability to do it maybe as easily or as freely. There could be some consequences. And I think a lot of them, they start moving around and the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence as they thought it would be. So I do think the contract aspect, I've heard some coaches talk about that. If we're going to commit to you, you need to commit to us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, at least a 2-year deal with an option on the third, whatever it may be. If we're going to truly be the NFL, let's do it. Let's lean into that and make sure that one, we're looking out for the athlete. I think too much responsibility for an 18-year-old could be detrimental, and I think that we're putting a lot of responsibility on them, not only with money but also decision making, and not everybody has a good community around them. So if you're able to get that contract set up and have you would almost have to set up the resources at the school to have these conversations about what the best option is, make them think twice, maybe 3 times about transferring, then you'll probably end up with the best decision for that child.
Your thoughts about this, CJ, because we're going to hear it. We're in the time of year now where spring practice is going on, and it's gotten different because, transfers and coaches poaching players when they see them in these spring games. We've talked about how spring football has changed, and I don't have a problem with it. But one thing I do think is interesting, and you're going to hear coaches talk about it. Well, we don't know who our starting quarterback's going to be. We just don't know. We got to go through the summer and see them in the summer and preseason camp before the first game. That might be the case. But, CJ, I think a lot of times it's the coaches going, I'm not about to tell you who my starter is because I don't want my second and third team guys hitting the portal. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And they've been doing it for years. They were, when I was playing, we knew Cal Shermer was our starting quarterback back in February, right? And we didn't announce him until the week before the game. But the way that we ran practices and 7-on-7s and even in the weight room, he was the leader. He was the one who was getting us organized. He was the one that was bringing us together, film study, whatever it may be. He was the one that was the clear leader of the pack, and we were following his lead. And I think that happens. It's gamesmanship in a way, right? Yeah, of course, you don't want your second and third guy, jumping out there when your starter only has one more year left. It's like you want that guy to kind of hang around one more year kind of thing. But I do also think it's gamesmanship. You don't want them, scheming on you for a full summer. It's going to make game one that much harder, right? So you rather kind of hold that to yourself, put that in your back pocket, and make them scheme on multiple quarterbacks. And I think with Alabama, they keep saying there's three guys, there's three guys, there's three guys.
Yeah.
There's never three guys, right? There's usually two, but they probably have figured out their one by May, right? So, and there's other competitions around the country right now where they keep saying three guys. Ohio State, there's three guys. There's never three guys in a competition. There's two. And
yeah. And when you have a quarterback coming in like Jackson Arnold transferring to Auburn, is it just a foregone conclusion that, well, he transferred, he's not coming here to sit on the bench? And I'm sure when they were luring him to Auburn, and I'm sure this happens all over the country, oh yeah, you're our man. We want you to come because you're going to be the starter. But they try to play it off now that we're in spring. Well, I don't know. There's competition going on here. And I get it. They want to keep that, group of quarterbacks together. You got to have depth. We've talked about that. But, I've wondered about, the line you hear people say it. Well, the guy's not transferring to sit on the bench. He's leaving for a reason. He wants to play.
Well, and he's getting paid too much money at Auburn to not play as well. And I think that's a factor that's coming into this new generation of football. But no, I think he's the starter. I think it's a little bit of gamesmanship. I mean, the only way a guy transfer and he's not the guy is if he really, really, in lack of better words, just kind of pees down his leg, man. I mean, it would have to be really bad for him not to start because they already know what they got, right? They know what's in-house already. And so when they made the decision, they were comparing the in-house to what they saw on tape of this other guy. So I think they're bringing him in for a reason. And even in Auburn's case with Hugh Freeze, at Auburn, you're always on the hot seat. I mean, I don't know why, but they're with their fan base and powers to be, the coach has to perform very quickly. And so I don't think you can take chances with putting in a guy that you're just so about. You're bringing in a guy that's coming in to win tomorrow, so.
I like that. Let me write that down. Pee down their leg. I like that. I got to remember that. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that. All right, CJ, we've talked about the bracket. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Who is your favorite to win it all in the NCAA tournament?
Oh man, this is tough. I may have to go Auburn Tigers, or I may get kicked out of my house tonight. So I'll say the Auburn Tigers in support of my wife and my mother. But I really do like what Florida's doing right now. I think they are intentional. I think they are motivated, and they seem very focused too. And that's something that I do think plays a role with older guys that are just saying, "Hey, this is our moment. This is our time. We're supposed to be here." And I just like how they've approached every game. So my heart has to go with Auburn, but I'm slowly but surely getting pulled over to the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It would be a rematch if they play Florida in the Final Four. That's where they would meet. Of course, Florida beat Auburn in Neville earlier this year, but I could see, Auburn getting over on the Gators there. To me, the only team that scares me for Auburn is Duke. If they met them in the championship game, could they have enough to beat Duke? And Florida would certainly be a tough one as well. But as I said earlier, CJ, this week, the odds of Auburn winning the national championship, those odds are the highest of the four teams remaining at plus 525. And I'm telling you, you put up $100 to win 525 on Auburn winning the national championship. Sounds like a pretty good bet to me because I think Auburn's got a legitimate shot to win it all, and to win 525 on a $100 bet seems a pretty good deal there. I might have to cross the state line and do that legally somewhere to get down on the Tigers there. Who knows? But we'll see how it plays out.
That's exactly right. No, I think you're right. And even with the Duke thing, they played Duke in Cameron earlier this year. It was a very close game. And I think it's always something to playing a team twice in a year. It's tough to beat them that second time around. It gets that much harder. And I think with Auburn's size, if they can stay healthy, it will bother the young fellow, that being Cooper Flagg. So, it will be a tough game. But, I think if you're an Auburn fan, why not Duke? You know exactly what you're getting. You've played against them before. You match up well. Now it's time to go reverse your luck a little bit.
It's going to be fun. We're going to enjoy talking with you next week about where we stand a week from now in the NCAA tournament. I'm sure some more spring football will be on the conversation with us as well. So we look forward to that. As always, CJ, thank you for your time. We really appreciate you adjusting your schedule for us this morning, and we'll talk again next week. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John. Always a pleasure. See you next week.
We'll do it. Thank you, buddy. CJ Duncan, YellowhammerNews.com on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Need to know what's going on in and around the capital city? It's easy. Just go to montgomeryal.gov for all of the information. Our tournament bracket challenge is well underway. Been taking a look to see where everybody stands in the tournament bracket challenge. There's some pretty impressive selections there, some not so good. And really looking forward to that. The grand prize champion, of course, going to win that $1,000 travel voucher to really travel wherever you want to go. You just got $1,000 in your pocket. If you go somewhere that costs, I don't know, $600, you got a $400 credit to use later on. If you're going somewhere maybe, I don't know, overseas and it costs $1,500, you'll have $1,000 toward that $1,500 to get you there. So it's great. And this, of course, all brought to you by our Tournament Bracket Challenge sponsors. The Montgomery Regional Airport, getting better the more you use it. Check out great deals at iflymgm.com. Phoenix Physical Therapy, getting you back in the game is what Phoenix Physical Therapy is all about, with locations throughout Central Alabama. River Region Straw, premium long needle pine straw for all of your landscaping needs. Call or text Kenny today at 669-5959. And the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf, arriving daily at 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Call ahead for your order to be picked up, 288-4272. Thank you so much to those great sponsors bringing you our Tournament Bracket Challenge yet again this year. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we return, it will be the Phantoms Daily Dog. We'll also go over Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland topic wheel, but I also want to get Gurn Jr. involved when we come back after the Daily Dog. I'm just curious what he thinks about the Sweet 16 and what teams he sees advancing from this point forward. We'll check in with that with Gurn as well. We got about 32 minutes left in the live portion of the program. But the good thing about what we do here on Longshore McKnight, you can watch us anytime it's convenient for you. That's right. We want to work on your schedule. That's why you can find us at YouTube any time of the day. Of course, we're on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Spotify. Our man Joe up in Canada loves our broadcast on Spotify. We appreciate that, Joe. Also, our good friends at YellowhammerNews.com. Check it out, YellowhammerNews.com. You can check out Longshore McKnight there. There's also a write-up each and every afternoon about what we did on the program that day. So check it out, YellowhammerNews.com, and so many other great platforms to check us out. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure to please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. No, it does not cost anything to subscribe. We just send you notifications so you know when we are downloading more content, whether it is our live show every weekday from 7 to 9 a.m., or there's some Instagram posts. There's a lot of Instagram action with Longshore McKnight, some great clips from today's show, the Phantoms Daily Dog, a lot of other great things, and, of course, so many of the other platforms, and we greatly appreciate that. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate that. All right, quick timeout. Back with more as we move on this Wednesday here on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails loyalty program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. Okay.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 29 minutes to the top of the hour. Barry traveling with Troy Baseball. He'll be back with us tomorrow here on the program. Okay, it's the Phantom's Daily Dog. We got to get a dog sound effect, a little barking dog, like a little chihuahua, you know, those little annoying high-pitched. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, nice. I like that one. That sounds more like a Labrador or something. I like that. The Phantom's Daily Dog. Well, unfortunately, the dog's not barking today because last night we had the home team, the Portland Trailblazers, catching 6.5, hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that just didn't go real well for us yesterday. Had a tough night, but that does happen. And, you know, can't win them all, as they say. People want us to win them all. Well, we gave it our best shot, and last night, Cleveland comes into Portland, wins 122 to 111. That's an 11-point difference. Yeah, and 6.5 is just not going to cover that. So took it on the chin last night. But, hey, we're not going to let that stop us because we're going back to the NBA tonight. And this is a very, very interesting matchup. We're going to go out to the desert. We're going out to Phoenix, Arizona, where Phoenix is hosting the Milwaukee Bucks. Check this out, folks. Milwaukee has won 11 of their last 12 games. 11 of their last 12. That's unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm going to count just to make sure. Yep, 11 of their last 12. Their last loss was to the Oklahoma Thunder 6 games ago. So they've won 11 of their last 12. Milwaukee's playing pretty well. Good basketball. I mean, they're a pretty good team. There's no doubt. Just check them out in the standings. They are 5 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, who won last night. Boston 53-19. They are playing the Phoenix Suns tonight in Phoenix, who are 35-37 in the Western Conference. So where am I going here? Well, let's take a look, a little closer look at the Phoenix Suns. Because when it comes to a winning streak, Phoenix isn't chopped liver either. Now, they haven't won 11 of their last 12, but the Phoenix Suns have won 4 in a row. They're on a 4-game winning streak, and they've played some pretty good basketball teams. You want to know who Phoenix has played? Well, they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, beat the Toronto Raptors, and the Chicago Bulls. Now, are they going to beat the Boston Celtics tonight, catching 3.5 at home? Maybe not, but I think they can cover the 3.5. So, we like the Phoenix Suns at home catching 3.5 tonight, hosting the Boston Celtics. That is your Phantoms Daily Dog. Let me hear that dog one more time. The Phantoms Daily Dog, the Phoenix Suns at home plus 3.5. There you have it. Phantoms Daily Dog for today. There you have it. That dog is barking. He's coming back to life tonight in Phoenix, catching 3.5. All right, before we get to Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland 777 topic wheel, I'm going to go over, and there again, these might change by tomorrow when Barry and I go over them. Probably not. Probably not. I'm just going to give you the straight-up winner because there are several games I'm looking at tomorrow as a possible dog candidate in the Phantoms Daily Dog. But the 4 games on Thursday and the 4 games on Friday, I'm kind of looking ahead. And the first game just happens to be BYU at Alabama. 6:09 on CBS. Alabama's a 5.5-point favorite in this game. You know, I've been saying it all week. I just don't know if I can confidently say Alabama's going to win this game. They're taking on a BYU team that's a lot like they are. They shoot the threes. They play fast. I think the key is going to be, does BYU turn the ball over as much as Alabama's prone to do? And can BYU play defense? Something Alabama has had lapses in from time to time. That's a tough one. So I'm gonna reserve the right to get into that a little bit more tomorrow when we get to game day. At 6:39 on TBS tomorrow, it is the Florida Gators taking on the Maryland Terrapins. Florida's a 6.5-point favorite here. The Gators have had a few scares in the tournament. They certainly had a scare against UConn, but I think that bodes well for a team as they move forward. Had a little reality check. But I think Florida's going to be too much for Maryland. I like Florida to advance and beat the Maryland Terrapins. At 8:39 tomorrow night on CBS, this game will be immediately after the Alabama-BYU game. It's number 1 seed Duke taking on 4 seed Arizona. 8:39 CBS, as I mentioned. Duke's a 9.5-point favorite. Duke is the largest favorite of any team in the Sweet 16 at the moment. Duke's just too good. I don't know if they can cover 9.5. They're winning the game, though. Come on, let's be real. They will win the game. And then the nightcap at 9:09 on TBS, immediately following the Maryland-Florida game. These games are in San Francisco. Long way to go for Florida Gator fans. Heck, long way to go for just about every team in there. Maryland, Florida, Arkansas, Texas Tech. I guess the Lobos are the closest school to San Francisco, but Arkansas takes on Texas Tech. Texas Tech a 5.5-point favorite. Can John Calipari keep the magic going and make it to the Final 8? Boy, what a story that would be. This guy started out 0-5 in the SEC, and here he is in the Sweet 16 knocking on the Final 8 door. I think Arkansas can win that game. I think they can win that game straight up. And they're catching 5.5. Interesting. All right, so let's go to Friday. Yeah, I know I did not talk about Alabama because I'm going to talk more about them tomorrow because just not as confident in them at this moment. First game on Friday, 6:09 from Atlanta, State Farm Arena. Number 2 seed Michigan State taking on 6 seed Ole Miss. What about this Rebel team? We've seen them play really good this year. Can they knock off the Spartans, who are just a 3.5-point favorite in this game? There again, these point spreads, ladies and gentlemen, Auburn and Duke have the largest spreads of any game being played. Most of these spreads are 6 points and under, 5 points and under. I think Ole Miss is going to give Michigan State a heck of a game, but I'm just not sure they can pull it out for the victory. So I'm going to go with Michigan State there. Tennessee, Kentucky, an all-SEC Sweet 16 matchup in Indianapolis, 6:39 on TBS. Tennessee's a 4.5-point favorite, a 2 seed going up against a 3 seed in Kentucky. Can you beat a team 3 times in a season? Tennessee's already beaten Kentucky twice. Can they beat them a 3rd time? Alabama beat Kentucky 3 times this year, but I'm not sure Tennessee can do it. They might do it by less than 4.5. But I think Kentucky can win this game outright. I'm taking the Wildcats of Kentucky to beat Tennessee. And boy, the Big Blue Nation, how excited would they be with their first-year head coach making it to the Final 8. Then at 8:39 on CBS from Atlanta, Michigan, a 5 seed taking on number 1 seed Auburn. Auburn, an 8.5-point favorite here. And I talked earlier about Michigan having 2 7-footers. That's great. I think Janai Broome and company can battle those guys. I'm just not sure Michigan's got much to combat what else Auburn has to offer in terms of guard play. In the tournament, isn't it about guard play? It's not about 7-footers. I like Auburn to win this game against Michigan. I think they can win it by more than 8.5, and they'll move on to the Final 8. Then the last game on Friday, 9:09 on TBS from Indianapolis. It is number 4 seed Purdue taking on 1 seed Houston. Houston, a 7.5-point favorite here. Seen both of these teams throughout the season. Houston just has too much. I like the Cougars advancing. I think they can win it by more than 7.5. I'm not as comfortable there, but they definitely will win the game outright. So I definitely like Houston against Purdue. So that's kind of my early. I don't think there's going to be any changes here tomorrow when Barry and I go over that. I go over these games. But that's where I'm leaning. That's what I like right now. And, of course, I'll give you what I think about Alabama and BYU tomorrow as well. So we'll get into that. All right, let's take a quick break. I see that Gurn has got the Victoryland 777 topic wheel loaded up. A lot of topics on that wheel. When we come back, we are going to spin it. Chris, get ready. The wheel will be a part of what we do when we return right here on Longshore and McKnight. Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
This is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight. Telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Okay, back at it on this Wednesday. Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. About 14 minutes to the top of the hour. I see the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. It is loaded up. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I have not seen these topics. Gurn Jr. came up with the topics, as he always does. So this will be my first look. Very excited about it, seeing where we're going here with the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel. So Gurn, as Chris the Bammer likes to say, spin it, baby. Spin the Victoryland 777 topic wheel, and let's see what comes up. The Foreman Grill. I believe Gurn is talking about the George Foreman Grill. For people that don't know, Gurn Jr.'s father was my college roommate at one point in time. And I believe Gurn Sr. had a George Foreman grill in our apartment in Tuscaloosa. I need to double check on that, but I do remember that. Not only was it a 90s fad, it was an 80s fad as well. Now, we didn't have the super duper grill here, but remembering the George Foreman grill, undisputed champ of the 90s, it was a big fad in the 80s. Because, you know, when you're a college kid and you're trying to cook something quickly, you don't want a lot of cleanup. And I promise you, Gurn Sr. did not know the meaning of the word cleanup. The George Foreman grill was very convenient. I remember, you know, it sat at an angle. So like the grease would drip into this little reservoir, like if you were cooking a burger, something like that, and that fat would kind of drip into there. So there wasn't the mess of the fat. You could, you know, cook chicken breast, grilled cheese, all that kind of stuff. Cleanup was a breeze. And as you can imagine, I did I did all of the cleaning in our apartment. It was myself, Gurn Sr., and we had another roommate as well. And I did all the cleaning. Those two guys were not very tidy. They were kind of slobs. So the George Foreman grill was huge. It heated up quickly, quick cleanup. Is the George Foreman grill still around? I mean, I can't believe it's, I mean, why would it not be? It was such a great, innovative product, but ahead of its time. But I guess air fryers have kind of taken over. I know air fryers are very big now. I've got an air fryer. I put my unfrosted Pop-Tarts in it. Yeah, you can air fry anything. But like if you don't want to crisp up those French fries or something like that, really, really good. And there's some little small pizzas you can get at Costco I put in the air fryer. Whew, man, those are good too. So that's a good one, the George Foreman grill. I had one, I remember it well. All right, Gurn, let's spin it again. Let's see what is. That's a good one. George Foreman grill. I haven't thought about that in a while. Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Here we go. Russell Wilson. Ty's got a good question. Didn't George Foreman make more money off the grill than he ever did boxing? I don't know, but I think he made a ton off that grill, Ty. Russell Wilson, of course, this guy played at Seattle forever, went to the Denver Broncos. Where is he now? He's with the Giants. Free agent deal with the New York Giants. You know, the one thing that I don't like about guys that had great careers in the NFL, long careers. I mean, this guy almost went to Auburn from NC State or Wisconsin, NC State. From NC State to Wisconsin. Yeah, that was it. Almost ended up at Auburn. Is when they try to prolong their NFL career and they end up at some crappy team and they're not any good and they're getting beat around. I remember a lot of you younger viewers and listeners don't remember, but Joe Namath, who played for the New York Jets, won a Super Bowl with the Jets, ended his career with the LA Rams, and it just didn't seem right. Johnny Unitas did not end his career with the Baltimore Colts. I'm looking at him right. I can't think of, the former quarterback of the 49ers. Played at Notre Dame. Ended up at the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know why. I'm looking at him. I cannot remember his name. Help me out, chat room. Who am I thinking of there? Anyway, Russell Wilson, I think he's kind of lived through his prime. But Joe Montana, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I don't know why I could not think of Joe Montana. I actually saw him play for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Falcons in the old Georgia Dome on a Sunday night. I don't know why I could not remember Joe Montana. Thank you so much. Russell, there again. Great career at Seattle. Not so much at Denver. But maybe it's time for him to move on. All right, Gurn, let's see what's next on the list. Man, I look at the chat room. Robbie's up. Robbie, I'm going to get to you in just a minute. Wow, man, we got great topics today. We're spinning around. Have not seen these yet. Troy Trojans. Well, of course, a very an afternoon game today against the Rattlers of Florida A&M. This Troy baseball team, really good. Top 25 team. Watch out. They're playing extremely well. Been a great sports season for the Trojans, particularly in basketball and in baseball. So glad to see some good things happening there. And I think that football program is on its way up as well. Robbie says his mother got him a George Foreman grill for Christmas, and she used it Saturday during the NCAA tournament. Awesome, Robbie. Man, that's good to hear. Glad to know that. That is fantastic. All right, let's spin the wheel yet again. Man, these topics are just coming at us at a fever pitch. Spinning the wheel, the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. It's going to land on, I think I know where we're going here. I think I saw this. Rolling ankles. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, this was in an NBA game. And, man, I saw the clip. Tough stuff there. You know, I was never a defensive player, obviously. I just shot, so I wasn't under the bucket a lot. I wasn't mixing it up where I was stepping on other people's feet, which can certainly promote a rolled ankle. It is not good. Put that back up, Gurno, and scan that back. I was reading. I saw the player. Ooh, yeah. See that ain't what you want. Jason Tatum landed on the foot of Sacramento King player after a 3-pointer earlier this week. Man, that is a tough. And you got to think with all those NBA games that are played that you're going to see more of that. You don't want to see it, but, there again, you're jumping up. You never know where your foot's going to land. Could be on somebody's foot, which promotes a rolled ankle, and that is not good. Could that be a factor in the Phantoms Daily Dog today? Just saying. Celtics could be a little thin tonight. Just saying. We factor it all in there. All right. man, we're going at it. Let's see what Gurn's got for us next here on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. He loaded it up today. I believe we have 3 more to go. It looks like maybe 3 more to go. Let's see what we got. Spin it, Gurn. Man, we're on a roll here today. Well, I can't see it. What do we got there? Whoop. Oh, Salty Butler. Salty Butler. Now, Butler, I know, is a college. Salty Butler here.
I had a long with Jimmy. He maintains it's just another game, but Draymond Green said that even though Jimmy isn't expressing added motivation, the team as a whole is 1,000% motivated for him in this one. Said as they build trust, it's important to show Jimmy that they have his back and that it's not just him coming back to Miami. He has an entire group mobbing down here with him to get this win. As we all know, it was a very rough departure from the Heat. Jimmy told me that he's used to being the bad guy, but I asked him what he expects if he sees Pat Riley, and his response was, I have nothing to say to Pat, and Pat better have nothing to say to me.
Ooh, a little bad blood with that move with Jimmy Butler from the Heat. Man, as the Golden State Warriors visited Miami. Don't you love it? I love the theater and the drama of some of these professional athletes. I think those are, that is so good. That was a good clip there, too. Good pull. All right, 2 more to go. Let's spin the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel and see what we got left on the wheel. The anticipation is killing me. And, we had a little glitch in the wheel there. Woo! And it lands on triple double. We talked about this earlier in the week. I think it was quadruple doubles is what we talked about. But, man, how about this? Are we talking hockey here, I believe? Yep. Josh Hart and Karl Anthony Towns each logged triple doubles. No, we're talking about the NBA here. Okay. In a 128-113 victory over the Dallas Mavericks last night, making it the first time in Knicks history that 2 teammates accomplished that feat in the same game. That's amazing. Two players for the same team accomplishing a triple-double, and that's awesome. But, of course, you know me. My first thought is Dallas must not be very good. I mean, nothing to take away from those 2 guys, but just saying, just wondering. Got to throw that out there, but good kudos to those 2 guys. Yeah, you're right. You don't see that very often at all. All right, one more spin, and then I got to get to some of the chats from Robbie today. Spin it to make it official as it spins around, and it's going to be TGL. Is that golf league thing? I believe it is. And JT, even though he didn't hold on to win the PGA event on Sunday, I believe he was on the winning team.
Sunday, I had a great bunker shot 30 yards away, and it was looking like it was going in. And I came out like a gazelle running down the hill, thinking it's going to go in and yelling and everything. So, I've done some crazy I've done some crazy dumb things, and these guys are laughing at it. But yeah, I mean, listen, blackout moments. I don't ever sort of plan it. Just sort of happens, and I'll just stop talking now.
Yeah, obviously, I wonder if these guys drink during these competitions. I do know that JT was on the winning team in that new kind of made-for-TV golf event. Was that Bud Cauley on the end of that lineup with an Alabama quarter zip? I couldn't really tell. Kind of looked like it was. All right, great content there, Gurn. Really appreciate that. All right, let's see what Robbie's got going. Robbie is firing down today. Robbie joined us here at 8:48 this morning, saying he's very excited about Alabama BYU because both teams' ability to shoot threes in transition. But defense and rebounding will be a key for both teams. Richie Saunders has to be top of the scouting report. Robbie, that's some great intel right there. But make sure, which I know you will be watching tomorrow, because I'm going to have more on Alabama BYU on game day. So we'll do that tomorrow. But that's some great points you make there. Robbie also says his Final Four is still intact with Florida, Duke, Houston, and Michigan State. All right, congratulations, Robbie. Robbie has Florida over Duke in the national title game. Bama and Auburn lose in the Elite Eight. Well, Robbie, I'll say this. I will give you a little of this. I will. You're right. If Alabama does make it to the Elite Eight, they're not beating Duke. I'm not so sure about Auburn losing in the Elite Eight. But I do think if Alabama makes the Elite Eight, they will not beat Duke. But, Robbie, I'm going to go ahead and give you a hint. I'm not so sure they're going to make it out of the Sweet 16. More on that tomorrow. Barry will be back with us tomorrow. We certainly hope you will be as well. We'll talk with Jason Caldwell of Auburn Undercover at the bottom of the first hour. We'll check in with Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market at the top of hour number 2. And our college basketball insider, Bart Heisch, in the bottom of hour 2 tomorrow here on the program, along with a lot more and a lot of other great content as well. Hey, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for being a part of what we do here on Longshore McKnight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow live from 7 until 9 a.m., and you can stream us any time of day at your convenience. It's Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light.